today, just like what I said, that we want to talk about employment option for international student. We know that a lot of students coming to the United States, you hope to get good education, but you also want to learn about real life practical experience. Right. So there are three kind of employment options or three kind of employment authorization options in different stage of your F1 status. Okay, so either you are a current student, I believe most of you here on the call today are current student, but then maybe after a year or two that you will be graduating from Penn and you want to know about your option. And after 1 year of OPT or 1 year and 2 years of STEM OPT, then you want to know your option. A lot of students come to our office and ask about H1B option. Okay, so now we want to talk a little bit about current student situation. How many of you actually come here as a J student? Anyone here, J student? No, right? I do not see any J student here. If not, that I'm not going to touch too much on J student. I'm going to do mainly F1. But then if you have specific J questions, feel free to ask questions after this presentation. Okay. So majority of the student, I would say 95% of the Penn student come to the United States with F1 status. Okay, so with F1 status, when you are a student, can you work? Yes, you can work. But then there are only two options. The first option is on campus. So with on campus employment, that you have more freedom. For example, you can, if you are an art major, but you can still work in the gym, or you can work in your department, or even work in different department as long as it's an on-campus employment. So, but then some students come to us and say, but how do I know whether this job is an on-campus employment? Okay, so there are three things that you need to remember. For on-campus employment, the first thing is that this position need to be on campus. Okay, and the second thing you want to make sure this job, the job that you are doing, is to contribute to Penn community. Okay. And the third one, I want to say this is the most important one, is that this position is going to be paid directly by Penn. What it means is that some student will say, hey, can I work at the Starbucks on the second floor of Penn Bookstore? Okay, you just mentioned three things, right? Penn Bookstore, Starbucks is on Penn campus. Second one, I make coffee for Penn student. It's contributing to Penn community. But the third one, are you going to be paid by Penn? No, you are going to be paid by Starbucks. So for a job, work at Starbucks, it's not considered on-campus employment. So when you get a job that you can go on Penn website, well, Penn HR website to look for a Penn on-campus job. But after you get a job, if you are not 100% sure whether this is a Penn on-campus employment, then you want to reach out to your ISS advisor and make sure, well, this is really a Penn on-campus employment. And there are some restriction on Penn on-campus employment. Okay, during the semester, you can only work for up to 20 hours per week. Okay, but then during the break, like they said, during the summer, if you are working for a professor in a lab, then you are allowed to work for more than 20 hours per week. Okay, and let's talk a little bit about this off-campus employment. So let's say that you are a Wharton student and you want to work for an investment banking like a firm in Philadelphia or even in New York. Okay, so in order for you to be qualified for this internship, you need to have CPT authorization. Okay, CPT authorization is only available for off-campus employment. And this employment need to be highly related to your course of study at Penn. Okay, so this CPT internship need to be highly related to your course of study at Penn. And you can only be eligible for CPT after one academic year of full-time enrollment. That is to say, if you are a new student, let's say you are a new student at law school, and you say, well, this is my first year, and then for like this, I just arrived in fall, and I want to work in a law firm in Philadelphia, part-time, 20 hours per week. Can I do it? No. Okay. You can only do CPT. You can only be authorized for CPT after 1 year, one academic year of full-time enrollment. Okay, so maybe you can do it next fall. Okay, so one academic year means two academic semester of full time. Okay, and CPT, it's very specific. Okay, so for CPT, you need to get an offer letter from the employer. And in the offer letter, your job duties and the employer's name need to be very clearly addressed in the offer letter. And also the location need to be described over there on the offer letter. Okay. And just like what I said, there's CPT employment. What you are doing need to be closely related to your course of study at Penn. Okay. So when we say CPT, as you can see on the title here, it's called curricular practical training. That means that this employment need to be highly related with what you are training at Penn, what you have been trained at Penn, curricular practical training. Okay, so for curricular CPT, the first step for you to do is that you need to find a job. Second thing, once you find a job, you want to register CPT course. Okay. And once you register CPT course, then you can submit a CPT e-form. Okay. Many students come to us and ask, what is the CPT course for me? With this question, different department, different school, different program, they have CPT course. They have their different assigned course for CPT. So with this question, what is the CPT course that I have to take for my CPT internship that you will need to check with your academic advisor? Majority of the programs or department at Penn, you guys do have CPT course, but there are very, very few department they do not allow students to do CPT. So if you happen to be in that sort of department, then you will need to find some other option. So first of all, when you want to find out about your CPT course, you want to check with your academic advisor. Okay. Another thing I want to remind you, especially for bachelor student and PhD student, if you use up, okay, if you use 12 months of full-time CPT, then you won't be eligible for OPT. So I know that a lot of PhD student on dissertation, you may have a lot of opportunity to work in industry, right? You want to work on CPT, and many of you, while you are working on dissertation, you will work in a company and you are private CPT. You just want to watch the time. Okay, if you work beyond 12 months full time on CPT, then you are going to lose your OPT. So you just want to calculate your time very carefully. Okay, so that is about CPT. Now we want to talk about OPT. I know this is very, very, I think a lot of students come to Penn. You guys want to work after graduation, at least 1 or 3 years, right? So for regular OPT, it's called optional practical training. The duration for regular OPT is 12 months. Okay. And then as long as you are here at Penn taking courses full time for at least one academic year, then you will be eligible for OPT. Students like to ask, what's the differences between CPT and OPT? CPT is only eligible for you when you are a student at Penn. After you graduate from Penn, then OPT is your only option. CPT, we can make decision and we will give you the authorization. But for OPT, the USCIS will review your application and the government, will be the one who give you the OPT authorization. Okay. So for OPT, like I said, CPT is curricular practical training. OPT is optional practical training. That means that we give you the option after graduation, you can work in the United States to apply what you have learned when you are at Penn. Right? So for CPT, just like what I have mentioned, you need to have the offer letter, right, to start the process. But the OPT, you do not need a job to start. Okay. So I think many of you here, you guys are spring 2024 graduate. Just want to let you know 3 months before your program ended is the earliest time that you can submit your OPT application. Okay. And then some student ask us that, well, I tried to apply my OPT and I got my OPT approved. Okay. But then I still cannot find a job. Okay. So at this time, you want to know that for OPT, you want to report to us when you have a job because you only have 90 days. You are only allowed to have 90 days of unemployment on OPT. So they said that if you receive your approval and you have an employment authorization card, and it shows that the USCIS want to give you June 1st as your OPT EAD card start day, but then on June 1st, you still cannot find a job. Then what it means is that your days of unemployment will start to count on June 1st. So June 1st start to count for 90 days. If you still cannot find a job, then you will lose your OPT. So many students, I know a lot of you want to look for big name industry, right? Big name company. But before you get to your dream job, maybe it will take you some time to look. So but then for the time that you are looking, you want to stop the unemployment clock. So at this time, you can try to find some unpaid work or volunteer work and report to us so that the unemployment clock will stop. Okay. So for OPT, whether it's unpaid, volunteer, or it's paid, it need to be full time. But the idea of full time in OPT is different from from regular, like from secular work perspective. As long as you can work 20 hours per week, then in the immigration perspective, from the immigration perspective, then you will be considered working full time. Okay. And then another thing is that some students came to us and ask, can I work for 3 jobs on OPT? Yeah, you can. You can even work for 2 jobs on CPT or 3 jobs. You can work on multiple positions as long as you report to us. Okay, and then we give you the authorization. Okay. So this is a like application process for OPT. It's a short term summary. Okay. So I'm going to go through it for each step, but you don't need to worry next year or the following year when you before graduation, especially in spring and fall semester, when it's time for you to apply for OPT, we will provide a lot of webinars and workshops to help you go through the process. Okay. So for OPT, there are 2 major steps. The first step is for you to apply for OPT I-20. Okay. So you as a student, you need to request OPT I-20 through IPEN. Okay. And then once you submit the e-form to request the OPT I-20, we review. If there is no issue, we will give you a OPT I-20 recommendation. Okay. Once you get this OPT I-20, and then you want to prepare all the other documents. Okay. For example, you need to have an I-765 application. You need to have photo. You need to have your previous I-20. You need to prepare money, and you file all together. You file this I-765 application with all the other required document, including your OPT I-20. You submit it to the USCIS. The USCIS is the government agency, okay, the government authority who would review your I-765 and decide whether they want to give you the EAD card. Most of our Penn students, I would say more than 95% of students will eventually get your OPT EAD card. Okay, but the processing time varies. Okay, in the past, the USCIS take 1 to 2 months to process an OPT I-765 application. But especially for this semester, they took many of the students did not receive their approval after like 3 or 4 months. Okay, so it's really varies. So you want to estimate that well the time for the USCIS to process an OPT is about 3 to 5 months. It's a more conservative estimate. Okay, so once the USCIS review and give you the approval, they will give you this EAD card. Okay, and once you get this EAD card, it means that you are formally official. You get the official employment authorization from the USCIS and you can start working, right? And once you get your EID card and you find a job, remember there's a very important step is to report to us. And how do you do the reporting? You just submit the OPT e-form, reporting e-form through iPad, right? And once you report to us, we will help you update your service record and they will help you stop the unemployment period. Right? Remember I said that well, each of you only have 90 days of unemployment allowed on your OPT. So once you submit your OPT reporting telling us that well, I'm not hired by someone, okay, then they will stop the unemployment clock. Okay, so whenever there is a change in your employer, for example, today I got an offer from UPenn, and then tomorrow I want to change my job to Stanford or I want to work for Google or something, that you always want to let us know so that we can update your I-20. Okay, so this is basically that the from earliest OPT application date, like each year we will give you a specific day and help you to calculate the start and end day and then the earliest time that you can apply for your OPT. So if this is a program end day, let's say May 20th is your program end day, 3 months before your program end day is the earliest time that you can apply for OPT. But 2 months after your program end day is the latest time that you can apply for OPT. Okay, so you will learn more about this when next year, like for example, if you are spring graduate, then 3 months before your May graduation dates, that we will send you multiple email and then to remind you, we have a lot of workshops and webinars that you can join. Okay. And even for this time that we are hosting some webinars. Okay. So you can just go to our website, you will find information. And we also have tons of information about OPT, how to find OPT. We have a step-by-step instruction. So just log into our website. Okay. So beyond OPT, I would say a lot of you may be qualified for STEM OPT. So you just want to understand that STEM OPT and regular OPT, they are two different process. Every student, whether you are qualified or for STEM or not, then you need to apply for regular OPT. Okay. So the difference is that for student they are not qualified for OPT. After this 1 year of OPT, it is the end um for OPT for F1 sponsor OPT. But for STEM OPTs, qualified student, that before the end of your OPT, you need to submit a STEM OPT application, and then you will be able to enjoy another 2 years of STEM OPT extension. Okay. So after your F1 OPT, what can you do? Okay, what can you do? I would tell you that for Penn sponsor, like employment authorization, it will stop at OPT. Okay, it will F1 OPT will stop at the end of OPT or STEM OPT if you're qualified. After OPT, you need to look for some other visa to sponsor you. The most common one, as you can see here, is H1B. Okay, that's the most common one. We are going to talk a little bit about H1B. And also depends on which country that you are from, that you may have TN option. TN is only for Canadian and Mexican. Okay, it's only for a student with Canada, Canadian passport or Mexican passport, or E3 if you are from Australia, or H1B one is for Chile or Singapore. Okay, people from Chile or Singapore. Okay, let's talk a little bit about H1B. Okay, so just like what I've mentioned, if you exalted, if you have already exalt your OPT option, okay, your OPT type, 1 year or 2 years, then at the end or even before the end of your OPT, that if your employer would like to keep you, then they will tell you that, hey, how about y- are you interested in continuing to work for us? If yes, then I think we can consider to sponsor you with H1B. So you just want to keep in mind that Penn is your sponsor for OPT F1, but we are not, and we cannot be your sponsor for H1B unless you work for UPenn. Okay, if you work for UPenn, then if your department and hiring department is waiting, then UPenn can be your sponsor. But then if you are only a student with Penn, we cannot sponsor your H1B because H1B is a sponsorship only allow employer to sponsor. Okay, so for H1B, you need to make sure that when you learn, you have a major because H1B is a specialty occupation. Okay, so this require practical application of a bodily and highly specified knowledge. So if you graduated from Penn and you do not have a major, then you won't be qualified for specialty occupation. Okay, and then this specialty occupation need to require at least a bachelor degree. Okay, so you need to have a minimum bachelor degree and in a practical or theoretical applicational body of highly specified knowledge. Okay, so it's need to a bachelor degree and you need to have a major. Okay, so H1B each term, the maximum is 3 years, and you are allowed to have 2 terms of H1B maximum. And then during this year that you may try to if your department if your employer is willing, you can maybe ask the possibility for PR or you can look for PR option. This is when you plan to stay in the United States and work longer, right? So H1B for I know a lot of you want to work in private industry. Okay, so there is a cap. That means that around every April there is a lottery. Okay, so every student, if you unless you want to work for higher education like UPenn, we are not subject to cap. Otherwise, every April, your H1B employer will need to help you submit a lottery. And then you can only apply for H1B after you win the lottery. Some of our students win the lottery at the very first time, but some of our students like they did not get lottery even they tried 3 times, right? So it's really by luck. Okay, so if you plan to work for CAP subject entities, then each year they have different number of people that will win the lottery. But if you plan to work for higher education, for those institutions, they are not subject to cap. Then, as long as your hiring department is willing to sponsor you with H1B, they can submit a H1B application for you. Okay, I think that's all on my end. And then